What up, gang? Carolina Jackpot time coming at you. It is Thursday morning, September 1st, 2022. Hope everybody is doing great. You gotta say, why is Carolina Jackpot doing a video in the dark with the sun rising behind him? Well, it's because I'm a working man. Gotta get these things in when I can, baby. Stick and move. Stick and move. But I really wanted to get on and discuss the big matchup, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night. Gamecocks at Williams-Brice Stadium taking on the Georgia State Panthers for the first time ever. These two teams are going to hook it up on the gridiron, and this one is it's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. It's really going to be an interesting matchup. Second year for Shane Beamer, second year in this system. A lot of storylines here. A lot of questions to be answered. I think a lot of questions will be answered on Saturday night. Was the 7-6 record last year, exceeding the Las Vegas win total a fluke? Was has Marcus Satterfield matured and evolved as a play caller and as offensive coordinator? Has South Carolina developed any quality depth on both sides of the football? What kind of leadership does Spencer Rattler bring to the team in a game day atmosphere? We're going to find out all these things and more. Pretty formidable opponent, to be honest with you, for an opener to be doing it against. And I've made a few jabs here and there at Georgia State the past week or so, calling them the Jaguars. And yes, I know it's the Georgia State Panthers. Football team was established in 2010. I mean, they've only been at this thing for about 12 or 13 seasons, and have already carved themselves out a pretty good niche. Was a 4-2 team in conference play last year. Ended up going to a bowl game. Head coach Sean Elliott was he was offensive line coach of South Carolina for a number of years. Actually was the interim coach in 2015 after Steve Spurrier decided to take his old balls and go home. Sean Elliott stepped up and coached the team the last half of the season. And, it was a mixed bag there. It was a mixed success. He had a couple of SEC wins against Vandy and Mizzou, who was bottom feeders at the time. We ended up with a 3-9 record. I think the black mark, the stain on that was his loss at home to the Citadel. And that's going to be talked about forever. Clemson fans especially love to talk about it. They kind of tend to forget that South Carolina was a 3-7 football team going into that. Probably didn't have a whole hell of a lot of motivation, and the Citadel was a one-loss team. Not that that's any excuse. It's all water under the bridge. South Carolina actually won the game at the end. It was a ticky-tack garbage offsides call on a play where Pharaoh Cooper scored a touchdown. But that's neither here nor there. The next week he came out, performed pretty well in the second half, especially against a Clemson team that ended up playing for the national championship about a month or so later. Ended up not getting the job. Will Muschamp was hired, which I think we all know how that turned out. Don't want to rehash that again. So there's got to be a little bit of, I think there's probably a little bit of animosity there with him. He thinks he probably should have gotten that job. And to be fair, I don't know that he should have gotten it, but I think he should have gotten a harder look than what he did. At any rate, he is bringing in a team that is laden, and I mean laden with juniors and seniors. Probably one of the most experienced teams, if not the most experienced team South Carolina will play all year. Heavy use of the transfer portal down there. You got a lot of kids on that team who probably weren't quite good enough to get a look from a Georgia or from an Auburn or even from a South Carolina, teams that kind of recruit that area of the world and play with a chip on their shoulder. Last year, they started off pretty slow. Got blown out at home by Army. Had a couple of bad losses there. Got blown out on the road by UNC. Then started turning it around a little bit. Went on the road, played Auburn. Had every chance in the world to win that ball game. Couldn't quite get it done. The officials helped out Auburn a little bit there. You know, they seem to always kind of bail Auburn out of some situations, don't they? Regardless of that, it did end up playing the bowl game. Does this game scare me? I would be lying to you if I said that I am 110% confident. But I'm pretty confident. I am pretty confident the Gamecocks are going to step up here and do what they need to do. The line on this game is anywhere you look for, it's anywhere between 12 and a half. And is that disrespectful to the Gamecocks? Not really. And why is it set that low? Well, it's a combination of things. It's a combination of the fact that Georgia State is a pretty good team that returns a lot. It's an indicator also of Georgia State and the way Sean Elliott has played against SEC teams, I think. You know, he went into Tennessee and won a few years ago. Almost won in Auburn last year. Should have probably won. Now, granted, these weren't really high-level SEC teams. However, Gamecocks really not a high-level SEC team either. So I think they're looking at that a little bit. And I think they're probably looking at South Carolina's recent trends against these group of 5 teams. You know, you've lost Appalachian State, which I know it was under a different coaching regime. You struggled last year to beat East Carolina, a team that, yes, ended up with a winning record, but probably should have beaten them a little bit more than by 3 points. You struggled at home against a Troy team that really was just average as shit. So I understand that. I get that. And South Carolina needs to stop. We've got to stop this struggling with lower level teams. We can't do this. We cannot continue to do this. This is a new coaching staff. It's a new mindset, supposedly a new culture that we're trying to develop here. Don't follow the trends. Start new ones, okay? Don't follow the trends. Start new ones. I think that the Gamecocks are going to be able to exploit Georgia State's defense. I think Georgia State is vulnerable to the pass. South Carolina, they're loaded at wide receiver, and as far as experience, these guys have a lot of games under their belt. Some of it is not with the Gamecocks. But you got Antoine Juice Wells there, a lot of starts last year at James Madison, all-conference type player. You know, Stogner, the tight end, that's really not a wide receiver, but a very experienced player there who can also split out and catch the ball a little bit. And then I'm looking at, they've got Xavier Leggett listed as one of the wide receiver number 1s. And this guy came in, I think he was listed like a wide receiver number 2. Dak Joyner is not a starter, not listed as a starter there. And I know these guys are going to rotate in and out, but I think it's just, it's kind of interesting to me that Marion Brown, the guy from Georgia Tech, was a transfer in last year, is listed as one of the wide receiver 1s. And, you know, he really didn't have a real productive year last year. He did most of his damage in the bowl game. So, we'll see. I mean, I guess these guys had a really good fall camp. And I'm looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to seeing what that running back room can do. I'm concerned about depth on the defensive side of the football, especially in the defensive secondary. I mean, if you look at the depth chart, there are a lot of freshmen playing on the second team in the defensive backfield there at the corner and nickel positions, corner and safety positions, excuse me, for South Carolina. Thought it was interesting that Mo Kaba, who has a lot of potential, guy who's heard his name called a lot last year, has now been bumped up into the starting role at linebacker over Sherrod Green, who was injured most of last year and was starting. That defensive line for South Carolina, I think, needs to really show up this year, especially on the edge. Jordan Birch, we need to see something out of him. I kind of criticized him a little bit for not really living up to hype. But, looking at that also, this guy came in really, really late in 2020. He didn't enroll early. He came in, at the beginning of a pandemic. Didn't get, I don't think, a lot of practice time. Was isolated for COVID protocols and stuff there a lot in 2020. So he's behind the curve and was basically a true freshman last year. So, I think that there's still a lot of talent there with that young man. And I think he's going to surprise some people this year and really be a breakout player. Zach Pickens has been a solid his entire career at South Carolina, especially last year. And I'll look for some more of that. I'll look for some more development along that defensive line. I look to see what Jordan Strong is going to do for South Carolina. Jordan Strachan, whatever his damn last name is. The guy that's transferring in from Georgia State. Some kind of storyline going around somewhere too that the Gamecocks tampered. They tampered with him. That's a little bit weird, isn't it? It's a little bit weird sounding verb to attach to. It's just strange. I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't think the South Carolina tampered with anybody. I think the guy wanted to play at an SEC level school. Can't blame him. He was the nation's leader in sacks in 2020 when nobody was really playing defense. He did. So he kind of underwhelmed last year a little bit. I think that was getting adjusted to the SEC offensive lines, and I think he'll do a little bit better this year as well. On the offensive side of the football, to me, outside of the offensive line, depth to me is not as big of a concern on the offensive side of the football as it is on the defensive side of the football. But I'm still concerned, with the Marcus Satterfield game plan in general. I don't trust him, and I'm not going to until I see some more tangible results other than beating up on North Carolina in a bowl game. I've got to see some more tangible shit coming down the pipe to really make me buy into him. I'm giving another chance to offensive line coach Greg Atkins. Dude, your unit has got to step up, man. They've got to step the fuck up this year. Big time. They big time underperformed last year. And a team with a terrible offensive line is like a car with a flat tire. Ain't going nowhere. It all hinges around that unit. You got some experience there. You've got 5 guys there who have started. You've got a ton of starts between them. Let's go out and perform well Saturday night and play some football. I got the Gamecocks covering this spread because I don't think this game's going to be close going into the fourth quarter. At a 12.5 point spread, if you're giving me that, you're telling me that this game is a touchdown or less than a touchdown going into the fourth quarter of play. And I just don't see it. I think South Carolina wears on them in the third quarter. I think it could be close at halftime, but I expect us to get this victory. I expect between 17 to 21 points. And I'm not being delusional, not being silly. I just think that South Carolina knows there are a lot of doubters, even though there are a lot of not so much high expectations, but I would say high expectations for improvement this year, not high expectations relative to your finish in the conference or your finish nationally. Just high expectations relative to how you played last year. So I think the Gamecocks cover this number. Do they cover it comfortably? Maybe not, but I'm saying South Carolina 38, Georgia State 17. That's my lock. I'm locking it in. Gamecocks get a nice win to start the season in Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday night and go 1-0 on the season heading into Arkansas for week 2. That's going to be another interesting storyline. How are they going to do against Cincinnati on Saturday? They got a real tough test coming into Fayetteville, but not like they don't have one come in week 2. Hope y'all enjoyed that. Hit it with a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to this channel if you are not. I will see you guys later. Appreciate you. Peace. And I'm out of here. And go Gamecocks. Woo! And go Coach Beamer.